welcome back to a freshly squeezed episode of the Flowscape podcast. If you are thinking to yourself, didn't I just hear these pickle kissers yesterday? Yes, you did. We wanted to throw a wrench into the mix and come at you with 2 episodes back to back because Spencer and I only thought it was best to hop on for a quick second round preview as things are officially underway in Toronto. And as I probably don't have too much longer on this earth, as my downstairs neighbor is most likely going to murder me, I think I've won the war. We'll leave it there, but I'm probably dead. So out of principle, I won, but she's most likely going to kill me. That being said, things are underway officially in Toronto. Let's go right over to Spencer. And Spencer, if nothing drastic has changed in your life since yesterday, give us a quick rundown of this Toronto series, who you got and why.
So currently we are sitting at 1-0 Florida, about 10 minutes left in the first as we record this. I think maybe Florida's off to a hot start, so they can be feeling good before they hit the golf courses because this will be their last series of the playoffs. I am picking Toronto. I think they're just too much. I'm picking them in 6. They're finally playing well. Matthews is buzzing. He had a point in every game so far. He's going. I like it. Toronto in 6.
You are buzzing tonight.
We're going.
You are buzzing tonight. Toronto in 6. Oh my God. Spencer, he had a little caffeine in him.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
going.
I've got notes today. We're going.
He is on it. I love it. I absolutely love it. Yeah, I 100% agree with you. I think Florida is screwed. But I think they unfortunately for Toronto, they are going to drag them into Florida's game. I do have Toronto winning. I have them winning in 7 though. And not necessarily like it's going to be a super physical series for them. I'm sure there will be some physicality. I just feel like those games Florida wins are gonna be, it's just they're gonna sneak them like they snuck them in Boston, and they are hot. So I don't want to discredit them any. I do think they are a very, very sneaky team, but I think Toronto, I think they take it in 7. Like you said, Matthews, they're Nylander, Marner, O'Reilly. When Tavares is buzzing like he is, you have a problem because when he's got confidence, he's also got that veteran leadership like a Landeskog. You know what I mean? It's okay.
The nice thing on this series, though, we have 2 nice highlights on 2 U.S.-born players with Tkachuk and Matthews, so that's a nice thing for the little U.S. action there.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to watch because they're eventually going to play on the same Olympic team.
Yeah.
So it's kind of going to be like
fingers crossed,
like a Ryder Cup, Bryson DeChambeau, Brooks Koepka kind of thing. Like, how are they? You know what I mean? Like, is Tkachuk going to go after him? Or are they going to avoid each other?
I think you have to go after him. I think that's really the only way that Florida stays in this series is going after those guys. But
yeah. But speaking of avoiding, my toilet is clogged. I don't have a plunger. I realize that. Yeah, it's a shitty situation, and I'm gonna have to take care of it after that.
No pun intended.
No, there's pun intended. But speaking of backed up, New Jersey, big time win last night in against the Rangers. Patrick Kane, it didn't seem like it made a difference at all. And I first want to apologize to every New Jersey fan out there, except if your name is Mike Ginello. You can still suck it. I said this series would come down to goaltending. It did. I was just completely wrong about the goaltender I thought it would come down to. Akira the Kid Schmid was just standing crane style on his head, and Shesterkin shat the bed. I mean, that's just all she wrote. But now New Jersey has Carolina. Spencer, I want to get your take on this. What do you feel for this series? Who takes it? What do you got?
Well, first off, let's just say poor Timo Meier for getting stuck on the train tracks last night.
Johnny,
head was down.
Johnny.
Yeah,
head was down, Johnny.
It's okay, Tree. It's okay. But wow, what? I mean, I'll start off. That was a clean hit. He tucked his elbow. He led with his shoulder. Timo Meyer was just staring at the puck.
He came across he came across the Truba tracks and he got a red shell. It wasn't a green shell. It wasn't a banana. He got a red shell. He got destroyed.
And I haven't heard if he's. I would have to assume he's in concussion protocol. I haven't heard. It kind of looked like he skated off on his own power, but I mean that's a big loss if they do lose him. I am still picking New Jersey. I think it's going to go 7. I think that's going to be a big loss. But Jack Hughes is playing absolutely out of his mind. Talking about another U.S. born player. U.S. born players looking real good in this second round right now. But I think they're just going to be a little too talented, and Carolina's just a little too injured.
Yeah, I agree with you again. I have New Jersey. I have them in 6, and here's why. Carolina is so banged up that they had issues with the Islanders. Even being banged up, everyone before that series, I had them in 5. A lot of people had them, I saw sweeps on the board. They had trouble with the Islanders. Now, granted, the Islanders give everybody trouble because of the style they play, but it's not like Carolina is getting any of these guys back. They are going to be without all of their
Yeah.
studs for the majority, if not all, of the rest of the playoffs. And other than Meyer, if you take Meyer out of the equation, New Jersey was still a good team before they acquired him.
But they're not
So
a physical team. So you want to talk about a very unphysical series. That series is just going to be about speed. So if there's a team that Carolina can match up with just without the physical game, it is New Jersey.
I mean, that's a good point. I have New Jersey in 6.
That's the only reason I think it's going to go 7 is because they're not going to be banging each other.
We want them banging each other.
I don't know.
We want banging. We are pro banging on the Flowscape podcast. But I have New Jersey in 6, and I just think they're on such a roll right now. And again, Carolina, I think that New Jersey power play is going to give them problems. I think New Jersey's penalty kill is going to give that very below average Carolina power play a lot of problems.
I think they've got some good juju. They've got some good juju in there.
Yeah, you had them in 7. I've got them in 6. We're on the same page currently. You said reluctantly. We are going over to the West now. Dallas and Seattle. Game 1 is tonight in Dallas at the American Airlines Center. Jimmy is probably going with his sugar mama, and he is probably getting blacked out drunk like he always does. Shout out to the guy who has to drive him and her there and back. I would hate myself. But I've got Dallas in 6. I just think we are going to be too much for Seattle. Dallas looks like a team who has such a bright future and such a long window right now, even with a couple of their top players on the back 9. You look at their young players and their young core, and you look at a lot of the guys still in their farm system and some of their draft picks. They have a very long window. So it is almost like if we don't win the cup this year, if we somehow get bounced, then it's almost okay because things are so bright that it's there's something to look forward to. But I think we're too fast. I think Seattle is going to try to play run and gun with us, and it's going to bite them in the ass. And I think Grubauer is ultimately going to be Grubauer, like Avs fans hoped he would be in that series. But I think it's just going to show now. I think he had too much to prove in that series, and I think Seattle, I do think, is going to pull out 2 wins, but I think Dallas, for the most part, is going to roll them.
Yeah, and that's why, reluctantly, I am picking Dallas in 6 games. My Kraken are going to go down. I think Dallas is just a little too big, mean, and strong for this series. I think, do they get Pavelski back, do you think?
He is skating on a line with Marchment right now.
Okay, so yeah,
in practice.
You get him back. You got Robertson, who had 7 points in round 1.
Even if Pavelski doesn't play, you get him back. The presence of him just skating around in morning skates, and you know what I mean. He wasn't he's traveling again, all that good stuff. So it's just, even if he doesn't play the first few games, you still technically have him back.
Or even if he's just on power play tipping pucks, like that's at least a goal or 2.
And we showed there wasn't like a big drop off in performance when he was out.
No.
we showed everybody that, okay, we can lose a guy and it's next man up mentality, which is very similar to what Seattle did against Colorado. But I think Dallas is just it's too much.
Yeah, Sagan did a good job filling the role of Pavelski on the power play. He was able to get some. Is okay again. Is Robertson American or Canadian?
America, baby.
I'm gonna pump the tires of the U.S. born players on this little playoff preview
Yeah,
here.
he's from California.
Yeah, no, loving the U.S. born players in the second round, but yeah, Dallas 6 games. They're just too much for Seattle.
I'm checking myself just so I don't look like a complete asshole.
I wanted to lean towards yes, but I didn't have the technology to help me out.
Yeah, born in Arcadia, California. That's about as fucking American as you can get, other than Dallas, Texas.
Yeah, so American-born players are definitely leading the second round right now, other than McDavid. But who's that?
Speaking of McDavid, Edmonton, Vegas. Why? Vegas finally did me a favor and got Winnipeg to shut the fuck up and stop shoving shit up my ass, and I finally got to shove a little thing up their ass. Wasn't as big as what they gave me for about 2 weeks there, but I got mine in. I just, every time Vegas is in a series, I for some reason get disinterested, and I don't know why. And I first thought it was just Winnipeg, and I'm now realizing it was both teams, because I'm now kind of...
They just have nobody there. No, it's their roster. They have no... I mean, other than Eichel and maybe Stone, they have no names that you're like, oh, I want to watch this guy buzz around, especially when McDavid is on at the same time at night most nights in the first round.
Yeah, I thought it was just Winnipeg. Like, I didn't like watching Winnipeg. I just didn't like watching either of those teams. And I've got Edmonton in 6. I hope they fucking sweep them just so we can move on. Now, in my heart wants Vegas to win, because if we're just thinking easy ways for the Stars to get back to the Stanley Cup final, it worked out with Seattle, because that's what everyone would think. And then it would be Vegas just based on depth and goaltending. But it's going to be Edmonton. I've got them in 6. Where do you have them?
I have Edmonton in 7. I think McDavid is just going to be too much in the end. McDavid and Draisaitl are going to stick it out. I think Vegas can shut them down for a little bit, but I think they just can't do it enough. But it is going to go 7 games.
Yeah, I think if that power play stays as hot as it is, that's a real problem for Vegas. That's a real problem for Vegas, because we've seen Cinderella runs before. J.S. Jaguar is one of them with the Mighty Ducks, but most of the time when these kind of no-name or unknown goalies have a series, it fizzles out at some point. I'm hoping it's going to fizzle out with Grubauer, because I don't think he's a top 5 goalie in the NHL. Maybe we're pushing with top 10, but you know what I mean? Just based on resume, but Colorado got rid of him for a reason. And if you ask all Colorado fans, they still would have gotten rid of him. So even with the win last night, these goalies, no name, Brassard scares me, especially if that power play stays as hot as it is right now.
They just don't do it for me. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, you need a hot goalie to win a Stanley Cup.
I think what it's going to take is for me to go to Vegas and actually watch a game and sit in medieval times and watch the Knights fight, and I get to pet a dragon, and you get to go into these like medieval brothel things and like walk around and see all of the kind of torture chamber shit, right? I mean, that's how...
I think you're mistaken on what a Las Vegas Knights game is.
That was just Game of Thrones.
Yes.
That was just Game of Thrones. Yeah. Okay. So that's not how they do it in Vegas. They need to take notes, because if they're going to keep playing the way they're playing, they need to add more than just what they do at the beginning of the game.
Yeah, but I mean, at least it's a very interesting second round. At least, I mean, I don't think any of us could have sat here and said we were going to get to the second round with no Boston, no Rangers, no Colorado.
So speaking of Boston, I do want to apologize real quick. I said on yesterday's episode that, why would you start Swayman? Ullmark wasn't hurt. Apparently, it came out yesterday at some point that I didn't see that he was hurt, and it was pretty debilitating. But
what was it?
I'm also reading. they didn't say, and I'm also reading today that could be kind of being blown out of proportion because a lot of people are saying, then why would he play 6 games in a row? If your goal players are a little different. If your goaltender has a debilitating injury, it would be asinine to start him 6 games in a row unless he was lying about how injured he was to the trainers and to the coaching staff and to everybody. But that's what I'm hearing today is that may be a little bit misleading information as well. So no
Interesting.
one really knows.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
I had not heard that.
Yeah, no one really knows. But if he was hurt, I said he wasn't. I'll be wrong again. I've been wrong many a times.
Yeah, but still, no Boston, no
Fuck, I just
Rangers,
admitted
no
it.
Colorado. Like, it's pretty. We have 4 teams never won a cup: Vegas, Seattle, Winnipeg, Florida, and so then the other 4 teams, the most recent winners, 2006. So we're at least talking about almost what, a 17-year hiatus from winning a cup.
So just based on when these dynasty eras and teams began, going back to 2010, starting with the Blackhawks, going into the Kings, going into Boston and their 2011 Cup, and just kind of always being there. Then leading into Tampa, if the Western Conference Final was Dallas and Edmonton, and the Eastern Conference Final was New Jersey and Toronto, that's just so random. I love it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
that's
it's just we've been seeing the same. Like, it's almost like Golden State and fucking Cleveland for a while there. Like, it's just the dynasties are kind of taking a break, and these other teams that have been drafting very well are starting to make a name for themselves and are starting to open up their window, which for the next 10 years, it could very well be Dallas having a run, Edmonton having runs, New Jersey having runs, Toronto having runs, just based on how young they are and how well they've drafted and the pieces that they put together.
That's what I mean. That's the excitement of kind of who got dropped out of the first round and who's moving on is we're going to have someone different win this. We're going to have someone different in the final. It's just, I think it's good for hockey. It's good for these different markets. It's good for, those 4 clubs who haven't won in, 20 years almost to be back in it and get these markets back going. And then these 4 new markets, 2 of them expansion markets within the past 5-10 years to get them back, even though, we don't like Vegas and they can lose every game, every season as far as I'm concerned. But it's still good for the game of hockey to have these teams in it.
It is, and it's and this isn't just a homer take. It is good for Dallas to be in a position of making a run or being in the playoffs because it is such a big market. That is the reason Houston has an opportunity or even has a shot, is because Dallas was the test run in the southern market of, can this work? And it worked. And yeah, they fucked up with Atlanta, and that didn't end up working out. But it would 100% work in Houston. Now, the thing with that is you still need the presence of them in the playoffs. Otherwise, you do lose the casual fan in the southern region.
Yeah.
That is just how the market works. Everyone calls them fair weather fans or whatever, and it's like you look at a Dallas game on a Tuesday night at 7:30 against the Ducks in the regular season, and you're going to see some empty seats. It's not that they're fair weather. It's just that there's so much to do in this big market, right?
Yeah.
And there also is so much disappointment with other sports teams. If you look at the Cowboys and what they do to fans every year, if you look at the Texas Rangers and losing 2 World Series in a row, if you take all that into, and if you take the fact that the Mavericks championship in 2011 feels like it was 25 years ago and the shambles that team is in right now, if you take all that into consideration, right, they need trust to go to things that they deem maybe irrelevant.
Yeah.
Right. To be honest with you, a casual Dallas fan, game 23 in the NHL doesn't give a fuck.
No.
If they get $20 tickets and go have some beers, that's a different story. But no one is like actively a casual hockey fan is not actively going to a regular season Dallas game unless they just get invited or come across tickets, and they're cheap. Now, once we get to the playoffs, the American Airlines Center is one of the hardest places to play, and it is so loud, and that goal horn drives other teams insane. So that's where you need them to, because you have to keep this market alive, and you keep it alive by this team making not deep runs, but at least getting to the second round like they did this year.
Yeah. No, I agree. No, I mean, so yeah. No words over here.
Hands up.
No words over
Hands
here.
up.
I mean, all I can say though
Speak
is that it is absolutely no excuses, completely set up on a plate for McDavid and Matthews to figure this out finally. So
100%.
they
100%.
one of them needs to be in the Stanley Cup final, and they need to get that monkey off their back.
Speaking of markets, I want to get your quick opinion on this before we end it. Somebody brought this to my attention today, and we talked yesterday about possible expansion teams. Obviously, Houston would be the number one, but there's hard talk of it's the pleats of the pants. I'm actually returning them as I speak. It's a hard talk on another expansion team after that relocation, which would most likely be the Coyotes. Now, I didn't know this. Did you know that Salt Lake City is a possible landing spot? Because we talked about Kansas City and Portland, but we didn't talk about Salt Lake City. And apparently the owner who owns the Jazz has met with NHL commissioners on several different occasions. This same source also told me that the University of Utah, who has developed their club hockey program into a very good ACHA D1 program, is on the verge of getting donors for an NCAA D1 team.
You know, that is a very interesting take. I think that would be a really good hockey market, given that the Olympics were there in 2002. They came in and built a bunch of different rinks for different events and stuff. So the youth market that would bring from having a pro team in there would already be supported, and I think the craving in the hockey market is already there. They've had success with minor league teams. They've had a few junior teams go through some of those smaller towns. I can't say whether or not those were successful or not. But I mean, I think that would be a great hockey market, actually.
Yeah, it's when he brought it up, I was like, you know what? I think I remember reading something about it, but I haven't heard too much of it. And when I started to kind of do a little bit more digging, it makes a whole lot of sense.
It does, kind of,
especially if you put it in the same area as where the Jazz arena is, and you do these things like you have a Salt Lake Live, like there's Texas Live where the Rangers and the Cowboys play, and you have these hotels and you have these restaurants and you know what I mean? That's a big market that no one is thinking about. But it was just food for. I wanted to get your opinion on that because I thought it was very interesting, a very interesting topic. Because I don't think like us and myself, I don't think a lot of people think about that or have heard about that.
Yeah, I got a question for you though. So the Rangers are out. Now we got to talk. Where does Patty Kane play next season?
I don't think it's the Rangers.
So here's my hot take. He stays in the state of New York.
Goes to Buffalo.
He goes to Buffalo.
I think there's a lot of guys in the league who we grew up watching who are a few years older than us, but are now on their way out, which is very, very weird.
Yeah.
But I think there's a lot of them, like Taze, like Maroon, like the Stalls, like Suter, like Ben in a few years, just because of the style of hockey that he plays. There's a lot of guys very soon, if not this summer, who have to take a good long look in the mirror and really say, do I want to keep doing this? Or do I just want to take my money and go do something else? But I think with a guy like Patrick Kane, he's done, but he's not done.
Exactly.
Meaning he probably knows, but he also would probably love an opportunity not just to play in his home state, but to play like right next to his home.
Exactly.
Like that.
And he's a guy who's got a few more years. He's not a top line center anymore. He's not a top line player. He's a guy that can go in to a very young, up and coming, exciting team, teach the Tage Thompsons, teach some of those younger guys what it has taken him to get to where he is in career and set that team off to where, I mean, talk about an up and coming team who's going to be exciting in the next, 5 years is Buffalo. So if they
Also
can
true.
get that veteran presence from Tuck being there, from if Kane can go there, I think there's something to that where they're setting themselves up for success.
That is very true. They are another team along with the Red Wings that are maybe their window isn't as close to as the teams that we mentioned before, but their window is coming up.
Mm-hmm.
And it may not be next season, but it's going to be within the next 3, and they're going to start making deep runs. Both of those teams are. So that's a great point. And the last point, and we'll end it there. Like we talked about with Bergeron, he's got nothing left to prove.
Yeah, no, absolutely not.
In my opinion, he is the second greatest American-born player of all time, behind Mike Modano, and that is not because I'm a Stars fan. That is because if you look up the career stats for both, Modano beats him in almost every single category. And it's not even close to the point where if Kane played 5 more years, some of those categories he wouldn't even come close to. That is just my opinion. I think in my opinion, the top 3 American-born players or top 2, I'm sorry, are Mike Modano. I am so bad at math. This is a fucking problem.
Yeah, you're kind of embarrassing yourself when just stop using math as like your metaphors.
It's really bad. But in my opinion, the top 2 is Modano and Kane. A lot of people do have him as the number 1. I see arguments for that, but
I think he's and this is the argument of Gretzky versus Ovechkin. I think Kane is the greatest American goal scorer. Hull could maybe be the argument, but Modano's the greatest player. So like when you're looking at Gretzky and Ovechkin's the greatest goal scorer to ever play, where Gretzky's probably the greatest hockey player. You see what I'm saying? It's in the wording.
Yeah, I will agree with if you just take pure goal scorer, I think Patrick Kane is the more pure goal scorer.
Yeah, oh yeah.
If you take the overall game, I mean, Mike Modano, once Ken Hitchcock came into that organization and really got him to see how the defensive side of the game.
He was that dude.
Yeah, he would slash the shit out of you. You know what I mean? And but he had guys he had Hatcher and he had guys that would come in and back him. But he played a gritty style of game like guys like Bergeron do in the defensive zone. And that's something that we've never really seen with Kane. So that I will agree that is the difference. But we will end it there. I think that is a great second round preview. We will keep track of these predictions and see where everything ends up. So hopefully we're right. But again, it is a classic case of predictions at the end of the day are for schmucks. Anybody can make them. It's a crapshoot. The game of hockey, like any sport, was created by a psychopath, and it is left up to a bouncing rubber puck and human error.
It's all a sham.
So it's all a scam. It's all a sham. Again, this is the Flowscape podcast. Thank you very, very much for being with us 2 days in a row. We appreciate all the support. We will catch you next time. Peace out, baby.
See ya.